Mystery Twins, Version 2, Chapter 1. Stan had never viewed himself as very kid-oriented, for a lack of a better word. He'd caught sight of a few of them running around his shop before. They seemed to love roaming into places they shouldn't, touching things that didn't belong to them, and crying about money and the scary statues Stan constructed, along with other inane things that went in one ear and out the other. But to care for a kid? Stan could never see himself doing it, not even once, even if money was on the line. And that, in itself, said a lot. His only knowledge about the little gremlins was that they slobbered, left toys everywhere, and cried endlessly. He figured you probably fed them or something, but he couldn't quite say he had any type of first-hand experience, since Wendy was far from a child, and Seuss, well, he probably didn't count as a valid example. Who the hell would even want kids? Stan figured every time he watched an exasperated parent carry off a crying child in the middle of what he regarded as a Category 10 tantrum. They were noisy and messy and hard to control. Ford had once written a page within his journal about the mysteries of toddlers, but had ripped it up saying it was in bad taste. Stan? He disagreed. Figured it was pretty on the nose. Kids were weird, and almost like an end-all for any possible social life. Stan had never had an interest in the settled-down life with a dog and a white picket fence, because he couldn't run from the feds. He had his job in the Mystery Shack, content with wringing money out of clueless population of tourists and savoring the life with a stack of bills in his suit pocket. It was a life he preferred, and had hoped to get to live till the end of his days. So, on that bright Sunday morning, the beginning of summer with the evident warmth flooding through the forest in slanted rays of sunlight, and an excessive amount of gnomes, he felt completely unprepared with the sudden suited woman showing up at his doorstep unannounced. She knocked with an urgency Stan usually saw in exasperated camp counselors, and as he hefted his wooden bat in one hand, he used the other to peer through the curtains of the kitchen's window, trying to catch a glimpse of the mysterious stranger. Suits usually meant someone wanting money, or some other kind of retribution for a past illegal activity. And Stan? Well, he was used to forcing himself to be careful, but the suit didn't quit. After 20 minutes of incessant doorbell ringing and knocks on the windows, and even once a call, "I know you're in there, Mr. Pines," Stan felt he had no choice but to answer. He cracked open the front door, carefully displaying the bat casually against his shoulder. The suit didn't look fazed, but he didn't dare look like he was threatening her. He'd had bad experiences with that before. Hey! He glanced at the stuffed folders in her hand, before looking back towards his empty home. Mr. Pines ain't here. I'm his, twin. Oh, I know it's you, Mr. Pines, the suit declared, pushing herself forwards with a cheery grin. Dark hair draped over her shoulders like waves, framing a heart-shaped face and bright hazel eyes, and God, Stan was already annoyed. "You a Girl Scout?" he gruffly snapped, moving his bat off to lean against the wall. The suit shook her head, tapping fingers against her folders like a rapid pianist. He noted the band-aid crossed over a nasty-looking scratch on her hand. "No, actually. You're Mr. Stanford Pines, owner of the Mystery Shack, correct?" "Depends on who's asking." The woman threw her head back and laughed, as if Stan had just told the joke of a century. "Well, I'll take it as a yes. You've got a case, Mr. Pines." We're so sorry we forgot about you, but I promise it won't happen again. And now that our population has been rising, it sure will help having another home around in the vicinity." "Whoa! Stop right there!" Stan tracked the woman's eyes, wondering if he was being pranked, but her crooked smile stubbornly remained. Nobody jumped out of bushes to shove him in a shack. Tentatively, he ventured on the probability that this was serious. "What do you mean? A home?" The girl's smile grew considerably faker. "A foster home, of course." And on she went. An endless chatter of information Stan couldn't follow but could pick up enough words from. Home, foster children, a pair of twins, money, food, twins, a week, the whole summer, twins. And you're telling me this now? Stan felt like a dump truck had just plowed straight through the shack. He was already picturing grubby-handed children breaking his things and eating his food. He was already praying for mercy from a god he didn't believe in. The suit seemed to finally have the audacity to look uneasy. She lifted a page from her file and reluctantly looked back up to the house for confirmation before giving a weary sigh. So out of character, Stan felt a little impressed by her spiel. Instead of bubbly and bright and intrusive, she looked old and tired. "I apologize. These kids were just picked up last night. It was a long stretch of settling the matter and having the nurses attend stitches to the boy. We just want them in a home while we sort out all the legal issues." Stitches? Stan felt his stomach drop at those implications, but he didn't voice his concerns. "I was never even told I was in the system." "You fell to the bottom of our records," the suit replied, her response almost robotic. "And we only became aware of that you're an adoptive household due to a rather nosy intern. But we did call and confirm validations. Unfortunately, the database has changed and we might need new records on your state of housing. But given the circumstances right now, we're willing to put the examination off temporarily." "I don't recall confirming." Stan could feel the walls closing in. "I beg to differ." The suit pulled up another page, clearing her throat before scanning it. "May 31st, 6:48 p.m., you confirmed you were indeed running as a valid foster home, but that you didn't have any children registered in. You agreed for any future placements. The audio was recorded back at the office. I can get it for you if you'd like." Stan felt he knew whose voice would be in that recording. "Nah, it's fine," he grumbled, his mouth dry. "What were you saying about them being twins or something?" "Oh, they come from a long line of placements." The suit's tone took of idly discussing the weather. "Never been apart except for one day, but we definitely didn't try that again. It's been happening since their first home after their biological father. He's gone rampant, so there's a low chance of them ever returning to his care. And I know I had hinted this would be overnight." "Because it will be," Stan snapped through gritted teeth. "But we were hoping for 2 months." "No way," Stan spluttered, appalled by the thought of kids running around his home for 60 whole days. So many hours, so much money and effort and food wasted. "That's saying I'll be having kids in my home all summer. Summer's a busy season, lady. My shop bursts to the seams around this time of year." "I understand your business may interfere, but we can't let it affect your care completely," the suit stated, unperturbed. Despite the lack of a snotty expression, Stan knew she felt she was going to win. "If it comes to that, we may ask you to shut down your business for a temporary time." "During the busiest day of the season?" He was going to have a stroke right where he stood. Children are the priority, the suit evenly spoke. There was no choice. He was stuck with kids he didn't want. He would have slammed the door in the suit's face if the details of Stitches and inevitable twins hadn't reached him. He closed his eyes for a split second, mustering up all the shreds of patience he could possibly have left after years and years of handling shady tourists.
Do I get money?